record, there are about 5,540 species of biting midges in some 103 genera, but only 4 genera feed on vertebrates. So medically, the two most important genera are the Leptoconopes, which is mainly found in the tropics and subtropics, including the Caribbean and some parts of the USA. Another one is the Culicoids, which contains about 1,450 species and can be found almost anywhere in the world. Even though their bite can cause problems, Leptoconopes are not known to be disease vectors. So although in a study by Mullens et al. In 1992, it stated that there's a potential species of Leptoconopes that are disease vectors, but further observation are needed to prove this claim. So adult Ceratopogonidae are sometimes known as midges or biting midges, especially in the Americas. So in Australia and some other countries, they are often called as sandflies, but this should be avoided because phlebotomins and occasionally simulids may also be referred to as sandflies. Now let's proceed to their structure. So adult culicoids are very small, being only 1 to 2.5 millimeters long, and with phlebotomins constitute the smallest biting flies attacking humans. So now let's go to their head. So the head has a prominent pair of eyes, a pair of short 5-segmented palps, and a pair of relatively long filamentous antennae. So just like in mosquitoes, males do not take blood meals and have feathery or plumose antennae, whereas blood-sucking females have non-plumose antennae. So the biting mouth parts, which are very small and inconspicuous, do not project forwards but hang down from the head. So the arrangement and the structure of the mouth parts are very similar to those of the simulids. So in some species, the thorax is covered dorsally with distinct very small black spots and other markings. So the wings are short and relatively broad, and apart from the first veins, venation is faint. So wings lack scales, but in many species are covered with minute hairs, but these are only seen under a dissecting microscopes. So in most culicoid species, the density of these hairs gives the wings the appearance of having contrasting dark and milky white spots or patches. So in life, the wings are placed over the abdomen like the blades of a closed pair of scissors. So the legs of the culicoids are short, the abdomen is dull gray, yellowish brown or blackish. And in females, it is more or less rounded at its tip. In males, on the other hand, there is a pair of small but conspicuous claspers. So biting midges are holometabolous, so progressing from egg to larva to pupa and finally to the adult stage. So the complete cycle can occur in 2 to 6 weeks, but is dependent on the species and the environmental conditions. So the adults are most abundant near the productive breeding sites, but will disperse to mate and to feed. So for the eggs, the males and the females feed on nectar, but the females require blood for their eggs to mature. So the females will blood feed primarily around the dawn and the dusk. However, there are some species that prefer to feed during the day. So some species are autogenous, or therefore may produce the first batch of viable eggs without a blood. So what they use is their reserves stored from the larval period. So blood meals are required for subsequent batches of eggs. So for the larvae, it requires water. They cannot develop without moisture. So the larvae are present and around salt marsh and mangrove swamps, on shores of streams and ponds, and in muddy substrates. So they feed on small organisms. So most species cannot exist more than a few inches below the air and water interface. So in the tropics, the larval habitat of many species is in rotting fruit and other water-holding plants. So other larval habitats includes mud, sands, and debris at the edges of ponds, lakes, and springs, tree holes, and slime-covered bark. So the larval stage can last from 2 weeks to a year depending on the species, temperature, and the geographic area. For the pupal stage, it usually lasts for about 2 to 3 days. So in the US, the biting midges are primarily nuisance, and other major medical issue associated by culicoids is allergic reaction to the bite. So however, like other blood-feeding diphtheria, so culicoids species are vectors of pathogens that can cause diseases in humans and animals. So in Central and South America, Western and Central Africa, and some Caribbean islands, biting midges are vectors of filarial worms in the genus Mansonella. So these parasites can cause infection in humans that produces dermatitis and skin lesions because the adult worms are located in the skin. So biting midges, primarily the species Colocoid sonorensis, are responsible for transmission of blue tongue virus to sheep and to cattle in the US. So blue tongue is a serious disease of ruminants. So blue tongue viruses are found worldwide and are transmitted by different culicoid species in different regions. So many countries that are blue tongue free prohibit the movement of livestock from blue tongue endemic regions. So the annual economic damage in lost trade is in millions of dollars. So other animal diseases can causing pathogens transmitted by the bite of infected biting midges include African horse sickness virus in equinans. So that is confined primarily to Africa, and epizootic hemorrhagic disease virus in ruminants found in North America, and principally having lethal effects on the deer. So some equines experience allergic reaction to bites, resulting in equine allergic dermatitis affecting with the withers, the mane, the tail, and the ears of the animal.